Hi, and welcome back. So last time we talked about organizing our projects. Just to give you a quick overview, this is what an organized project looks like for one of the projects that I've worked on, where I did not use the file type organization structure where all of my documents go in one folder, all of my photos go in one folder, all of my code goes in one folder for every single thing that I've done. But instead, I have a folder specifically related to this task that I'm trying to complete. And then within that folder, I have another subfolder for code, and I have a subfolder for results. I have a subfolder for the manuscript that I'm working on, and so forth. Also, this subfolder will have a file called a README where I introduce the point of the project to anyone that happens to find this folder. So that's a review of a little bit of what we talked about last time. And this is something that we have talked about before, but it bears repeating because the point of this data science course, the introduction to data science, is reproducibility and preproducibility. We do not want to run into cases where code works on your computer but doesn't work on other people's computers. And one of the quickest ways to get code to work on your computer and no one else's is to have your workspace, i.e., this global environment and everything that you were working on when you stopped for the day, have it all restart and open right back up where you left off the next morning. Okay. And that's based on this argument right here. So if you go into tools and global options, and I've had you do this before, but I want to make sure again because this is super important. I want to make sure that you do not have the .r data restore option checked, and never save your R data on exit. So I'm going to show you how to do this again. I go to tools, global options, and I make sure that this button right here is unchecked. I do not want to restore data into my workspace, and I never want to save the R data when I leave. What happens is sometimes you can have an object in your global environment that you created, that your code is going through and it's referencing that object in your global environment, but you never created the object that's in the global environment using a script. It was just a quick typing down in the console or whatever. So there's no record of it. It's over in the global environment. It's making your code work. Everything's working fine. But if you go to try to share your code to someone else, because you didn't include this line in your script, the code doesn't work for them. Now, you could have caught that if after you're done, and this is something I do all the time, once I get code to work, I restart RStudio. Oftentimes I will just close RStudio and then open it back up again. And I will have, I'm gonna hit cancel here. I'll have an empty environment. I'll have an empty console, and I'll just have this whatever script I'm working on, nothing else, and I start over completely from scratch, except that I have the script. Because once you have the script, you're not really starting over completely from scratch. You have all of the work saved that you've done, because you have the recipe to do it. You've got the script, which is actually what created the results in the first place. So there's just a cautionary point here. Do not save your R data, your R history, like all of that other stuff. Just forget it. It's neither pre-producible nor reproducible. Don't use it. And then I do this all the time, Control Shift 0 or Command Shift 0, to restart RStudio, and then to source an entire document to say, okay, run everything in this script that I worked on is Control Shift S or Command Shift S on a Mac. And that means to source the script. Just take all of the code that you put in the script and run it all at once. And if it runs again the second time from a clean restart, then that means you're probably good to share that code with other people. You may also need to share the data sets that you have, but largely that's a much better indicator that what you're doing is working than if it worked the first time, but then when you restarted R, it no longer works. You say, oh shoot, what did I do? What is missing? And you got to go through your code and figure out what line of code should be in the script but wasn't actually there. All right. So don't save your workspace. Instead, do create a project. Okay. And I'm going to show you a little bit of how to do this. So over here, right now, you see that I have no project. I'm not working in a project. So to create a new project, I can click over here and just the first option is going to be, so I click where it says project, none. First option is new project. Okay. Um, and it'll take a minute to load. So there we go. And I can create a new project in a brand new working directory. So if you don't have a place on your computer, like a folder on your computer where you already have a whole bunch of your files ready to go for analysis, then I would say start with a new directory. If you do have a place on your computer, a folder where you have all the files ready for your analysis, then go with the existing directory. Start a new project in an existing working directory. Now, for instance, if I want to create a new project for this class, I might not have a working directory ready. So I'll just say, okay, start a brand new project in a brand new working directory. Now what kind of project do I want to create? There's a whole bunch of templates that I can choose from. This one, there's a RUM research project template. You will not have access to this just yet. And actually, this would be a good time to show this. So I'm gonna cancel. I want to help give you this is actually some helpful tools here. So let's go install.packages and then quotes RUM, rum like the alcoholic beverage, or R for the University of Miami, UM. This is where I worked before some many years ago, and I collaborated with some other folks, and I'm the second or third author on this package, but it helped out some people at the University of Miami make this package, and it gives people that are new to R some nice structure whenever you're building a new project. So I'm going to install this package, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so I've got install.packages rum. Now, if this is the first time that you've done this, what you need to do is you actually need to close RStudio. So I'm going to close RStudio, quit, and I'm going to start RStudio again from scratch. The reason for that is the RUM package actually adds options to the RStudio IDE that you can click on to add new templates. So I go back over here to project, and I say new project, and I want to start it in a brand new working directory. And we go down here, and now you should have this option of RUM research project template. If you didn't have that before, then what you would need to do, go back, install.packages RUM with a lowercase r, uppercase U, uppercase M, and then completely close RStudio and open it again. Not just restart R, but close RStudio and open it again. So I'm going to click here for a RUM research project template. And I need to create a directory name. I'm going to commit a mortal sin. I'm going to put it on my desktop because I'm going to delete it as soon as we're done with this, just to show you an example. Don't put stuff on your desktop. I know that when I closed RStudio, you saw a whole bunch of folders on my desktop. Currently, I'm in the process of organizing all of those, and that's why they're there. But you should not store files and folders on your desktop. You really should not. Your desktop should be short-term storage only, like 1 or 2 days max, and then it needs to get organized into a file, organized into a folder, or just deleted. Okay. So use your desktop for short-term storage. Think about it like a physical desktop, like an actual physical desktop. If you've got piles stacked up all over it from months and months ago, how are you going to find anything that you need? You on your desktop should only be the papers that you're working with for the project that you're working on right then. And once you're done with it, then it needs to go in a filing cabinet, it needs to go in a folder, it needs to go on the shelf somewhere, and you pull it back down when you're ready for it. But so that's an aside. Don't put important things on your computer desktop. They need to be organized. But this is where I say, do as I say, not as I do. So I'm going to say test project, and then let's see, R for data psi. So again, I'm going to delete this project once we're done. I just want to show you what you get out of it. And I'm going to put it on the desktop. Let's go to desktop and just put it right here. So I'm going to create a new project. This is going to create a new folder on my desktop that wasn't there before. And I want to use, I don't want to use R Markdown. I want to use Quarto. But if you've got like old school folks and they really want to use R Markdown, that's fine. But I mean, you really should be pushing folks towards Quarto because there's a lot more functionality in Quarto, and they're not supporting R, like the Posit and RStudio company is not supporting R Markdown anymore, or they're not developing it anymore. And I'm going to create this project. So I want Quarto document. That's going to be the skeleton for the research project template that I create. And I click the Create Project button. And so it gives you a whole bunch of these messages that happened so fast you didn't get a chance to read it. Doesn't really not super important. Basically, all it's saying is that it's going out to the internet and finding a whole bunch of files for you so that you can start a research project. One of the things that it's going to grab for you, it's going to start this file automatically, an analysis QMD. I'm going to click on the source instead of visual. And notice it gives you a whole bunch of options automatically here. This is a very well-formed QMD file, gives you a lot of options that you would already want. It already sets up your references, your bibliography file, which we haven't gotten to yet. That'll be more for later in the semester when we learn how to do, we'll deal with some references either the end of the semester or next semester. And then this is what's called a citation style file. And that means that we want our references in the New England Journal of Medicine style. And then it automatically gives you code where you get the tidyverse package. It already says, hey, you know what? We know you're going to need the tidyverse. So there we go. Just load the tidyverse automatically. And then it tells you the outline of an academic paper. There needs to be an introduction section, it needs to be a method section, a results section, a conclusion section, and then some references. And then there's a function here that will automatically write the references for your document based on the packages that you've used. Okay, so if you've used tidyverse and rum and table one, some other packages here, it will automatically write a references document for you. So you get this for free, like it just comes automatically, a formed Quarto document that you can start writing your paper in. I'm not going to save this. You get a folder for data. There's nothing in it because obviously there's not going to come with any data for this. And you get a folder for R code, just already right there. And then you've got a references bibliography folder, or a references bibliography file, packages bibliography file, and then this citation style guide down here. So you get all of this and something called a gitignore, which we're not going to talk about just yet, but just understand that it's related to getting your code onto GitHub. And we'll deal with that either at the end of the semester or in the next semester. So anyway, you get all of this for free, super helpful, super important, and it already sort of gives you some of the folders that you need to get going in your work. So back here, we said we're creating a new directory, and then this is where I leave you with probably the hardest homework assignment maybe you've ever had in any of the classes ever in your entire academic career. I want you to organize your computer. Okay. So obviously there's some other exercises here, but really the main crux of this, and it will take hours to potentially days if you have never done this. Okay. It is like if you walk into someone's house and they have a teenage child who never learned to clean their room, and you go into their room and it is just an absolute catastrophe. You probably have never been taught proper file management for your computer. We're going to rectify that. Okay. I want you to go read this article, find out how to organize your computer. I recommend this. I recommend project-based with use type subfolders. That's what I've been describing up here. And what you can do is you can say, okay, well, I'm going to have a project for all of my undergrad courses. And so everything you did in undergrad goes into one project. And then from there, you can say freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year capstone. If you're like super senior, you had 5 years or something like that. And that's one folder. And then inside of that, you have a folder for each class. And then you can say, okay, well, now we're in grad work. So I've got a folder for just my master's degree. And then I've got a folder just for my PhD. And again, in there, everything's organized and structured. And then you've got a folder for like your personal stuff. And that's where you put like, okay, I've got to have my tax information, my legal information, my birth, like scans of my birth certificate, like all sorts of other files that you would need that's personal to you. And then you probably have a top level directory that's all about applications to different schools, applications for jobs, applications for scholarships, all sorts of stuff. And that's going to have a whole bunch of the same information in there. It's going to have cover letters that you've written. It's going to have CVs and resumes that you've written. It's going to have letters of recommendation that other people have sent you. It's going to have a whole bunch of stuff, maybe writing samples that you want to include, but all of that organized for the same purpose that's saying I'm applying to jobs, schools, scholarships, whatever it is. And there could be other folders that you need. You're like, okay, well, you know what? This is a computer that I share with other people in my family. So I want to make sure that there's a shared folder where like this would be like all of this stuff is included in a folder with just my name on it. And then there'd be another folder with someone else's name and so forth and so on. This can take hours, this can take days if you've never done it before. Okay. But at the end of the day, what I want to see, nothing on your desktop. I don't want to see just a giant mound of files in your My Documents folder. And I don't want to see a giant mound of files in your downloads folder. That will literally slow your computer down. Okay. I had a faculty member that called me and he's like, "Hey, Gabriel, my computer's been running really slow and I don't know why." He's an older gentleman. This man had like multiple gigabytes of files in his downloads folder just sitting there, uncategorized, like just. And I was like, "Hey, how much of this do you actually need?" Like, "Oh, no, I've saved everything I need." Deleted that. It took a couple minutes to delete everything, restart the computer, and open it up. The computer's running fine now. It was just there's a whole bunch of junk on the computer, on the desktop, in the downloads folder, like just everywhere in the computer, and it was actually causing the computer to run a little bit slower. So just be aware of that. And yeah, so this homework assignment will take some time. So I do not want to see you watching the next video until you have organized your computer. So go forth, good luck, and give it a good job. All right, bye.